ProPokerTactics.com.
Okay, Randy Chirac here with Phil Hardwidge. Phil is a doctor out at the University of British Columbia. He's a doctor of biochemistry, 28 years old, one of the best poker players that I've seen out at the casino where I play at, and Dr. Phil. Is it okay if I call you Dr. Phil?
Yes, please do.
Okay, not to be confused with the Dr. Phil from Oprah's, because from Oprah's friend, but because I have no idea what kind of a poker player he is. He's probably not bad, although I think he'd probably want to get into the emotional issues of certain poker traits, and well, that might be interesting too. Anyway, Phil and I have sat at the same table. We usually play 4-8 limit Texas Hold'em. Typically, and Phil and I, we both play other games. We've both been seen at 2-4 tables and 8-16, and even one or two a little bit higher than that. On the odd occasion, I've seen you at some of those tables, but for the most part, Phil, you play 4-8. That's where I see you most of the time.
That's right, about 50% 4-8, and moving up these days to 6-12, 8-16, 10-20. Depends on the quality of the game.
Okay, well, let's dig right into that comment you just made, moving up. Moving up because you're winning at these levels and it's time to tackle tougher opponents and perhaps have bigger wins?
Exactly. I'm satisfied I can beat the low-limit opponents. Satisfied with my game so far, and it's time to make more money.
Okay, well, good. Well, how long have you been playing poker for now?
Been playing about 1.5 years, quite seriously for the last 6 or 9 months.
Was it the World Series of Poker and all the other poker on TV that kind of got you into it?
I suspect that was part of the attraction, seeing its rise in popularity. But to be honest, I've always been a fan of card games. I used to play bridge quite a bit and smaller home games. And since I've moved to Vancouver with the easy availability of low-limit poker, it's become a nice diversion for me.
Okay, and how did you fare in the home games? I know you do well out at the casino, and that's why I've asked you to be here today, and I appreciate and thank you for your time. So, were you also doing generally winning most of the time in the home games too? Yes,
the home games were primarily for entertainment, to have a few beers, and they were novice players, so it was really dominating the home games, and they were too low stakes to really be interesting.
Right, and I noticed you don't drink at the casino, although I've never seen you drink at the casino. Is that kind of a habit because you want to keep your mind clear and win?
Yes, I do like to keep my mind clear. Vancouver isn't the best place in which to drink. Beers are expensive. When I go to Vegas, I certainly play the low limits and get drunk, but it's generally a good idea. If you want to play your A game, keep a clear head and don't drink.
Well, you mentioned to me several months back, because I told you I was going to go to Vegas, and I just recalled this now. I just remembered this conversation. You said, "Oh, you should go out and play at a certain place," and it was off the Strip. Where are some of the places you like to go in Vegas, and what attracts you to those rooms?
Well, many of the off-strip locations have really juicy games. A lot of players seeing the flops. The different station casinos that cater to the locals. The Palms is an off-strip casino. I like the Plaza downtown, as it usually attracts novice players. Mandalay Bay. Most of the casinos have really good games out there.
What would be the quality of play compared to River Rock, where we usually play here in Richmond? Richmond being a suburb of Vancouver, for those of you who don't know.
I would say the quality of play is roughly similar. Again, it really depends on the time of day, whether you have some novices or sharks in the game, but River Rock compares favorably to a typical Vegas game.
Okay. Do you go to any other places, Atlantic City, Tahoe, anything like that?
If I'm in Seattle for business, I will often spend an extra day down there and play in their local card rooms.
Okay. Now tell me about one of your best win stories. We all hear about the bad beat stories. Do you have one that comes to mind, like a nice beautiful win where you just played perfectly and or something great happened?
Well, there was a period of 6 or 7 hours down in Seattle when it felt like I couldn't lose a hand. Everyone is essentially afraid to be in a pot with me, and I ended up winning $600 or $700 at a 4-8 table, which is in part due to luck, but that's an incredible win for that limit.
It is, and that's U.S. funds.
That's right.
Which makes a difference for us Canadians, not as much as it did 6 months or a year ago, but it's a bonus. How long were you playing for? Like, how many hours was your session to win that kind of money? Because that's relevant, of course.
Only 6 or 7 hours.
Oh, that's what you said, right? Okay, good. So that was good. So it was just luck, or you're on your game, or the other players were bad, or combination?
It was a bit of both, but I was having such an incredible streak that players started folding when they shouldn't have, convinced that I had a monster hand, which in fact allowed me to actually start bluffing and overplaying hands, because you could tell they were afraid to be in a pot with me.
Now, what made them afraid? Was it your breath, or?
No, I had simply shown that I was the shark at the table. You know, I had been showing down some very strong hands, and it got into their heads.
So basically, you showed down a few strong hands, and then so they figured, okay, this guy's he's making the cards. And were you also doing things like coming on top of people, like when they're raising? Were you re-raising, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Once they've shown that they're a bit nervous or scared of you, you can start to push your edges more. This doesn't mean bluff in inopportune situations, but if you think the guy is likely to fold and you've convinced him that you have a stronger hand than you actually do, it's worth taking a few shots, because winning an extra pot versus losing one more small bet is an enormous parlay.
Right. Okay. Now, I don't know if I can use the term best bad beat, because that's an oxymoron, but tell us a bad beat story. If you have one. I mean,
I don't tend to focus on bad beats, because a bad beat is inherently a situation when you had the best hand going into the river and someone just got lucky. Luck is a part of the game, and you shouldn't dwell on it. There have been a few cases where I've had what I thought was the nut flush, yet someone will draw to a one-out straight flush. That's part of the game. They made a poor decision when they made that call, but they won the pot. You have to accept that as part of gambling.
That's another thing I've noticed and really appreciate about you, Phil, and it is your attitude and philosophy about about the game. And just before we started recording, I had told you about how yesterday I just had like my worst session ever, and you put it in perspective. And I wasn't crying crocodile tears or anything like that, but I wasn't all excited at all either. And put it in perspective and do something which is really important, and that is what you said was to look at it in the terms of the longer. The bigger picture, the longer, one big long poker session of our life, right?
Yeah. Over the long haul, every player will get roughly the same distribution of cards. Now, what determines a winner and a loser is how you play those cards. Do you maximize your edge when you have the best of it? And do you fold and get out when you have the worst of it? Poor players can't do that. The good players recognize when to do that and succeed. So you shouldn't fret over a bad beat, which is just a short-term unlucky phenomenon. You should focus on your skill and your long-term winnings.
To hear more of that interview, visit propokertactics.com.